Hello, everybody, and happy spring. Tonight at 5:24, it is officially springtime. I'm Linda Daniels, and this is Northampton Wolves, and you are now having lunch with Linda. I hope you have something good today. It is going to be a gorgeous week here in Western Mass in the Pioneer Valley, and if you have grown up in Western Mass or have recently moved here, you can't have experienced life here in the Valley unless you have experienced the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Holyoke. That was yesterday, and Friday was St. Patrick's Day. Friday is the normal day when Russ and I go out for dinner, and I had forgotten what a big party night St. Patrick's Day has become, because we ate at Fitzwilly's and the bar was jam-packed with people celebrating. The Worst House, which is a German bar right next door to the store, they were packed. The town was just buzzing with people out celebrating St. Patrick's Day in the good old-fashioned give me a Guinness way. And then, like I said, St. Patrick's Day Parade on Sunday happens in Holyoke. And when I was little, I remember watching the parade from my Nana's apartment window. She had an apartment right on the parade route. We then, when I was in high school, would go to the parade every year because a lot of our friends were either cheerleaders or in the high school band. At that time, South Hadley had a huge over 100 person marching band, so it was always exciting to see them in it. And they weren't the only band in it. The reason the Holyoke St. Patrick's Day Parade is so popular in the Valley is because every high school sends their marching band to march in the parade. And then once we were married and had kids, both of my children were in the high school band, and so we went often every year to support them as they marched their way through the streets of Holyoke. Like I said, you really cannot consider yourself a Western Mass resident unless you have experienced that parade at least once. Marie, I know you were there and you survived. Good for you. I mean, there are Irish families that in the area of Irish ancestry that really do it up right and do it up big. And I celebrate and am happy for all of you. It was cold, but a deliciously wonderful weekend. The big deal about it, or one of the big deals about it, is that it really signifies the beginning of spring. It is the last kind of winter event before spring arrives. And some years it's nice and warm. Some years it's bright and sunny, but I've been out there on that parade route when it was snowing. So we never know what we're really going to get for it. Oh, Shelley, you ran the road race. Yes. And the road race isn't as old as the parade, but that is another big deal in Holyoke on Saturday. They have a giant road race now. So it is a very busy weekend down there. In fact, there were people that came in on Saturday that were surprised at the entrances or exits off of 91 that were shut down for the road race and the parade. Surprised at the amount of traffic that they saw coming up Route 5. So it's a big deal. You should definitely try and experience it at least once. So along with spring this year, we're back to daylight savings time. So we have that extra hour of light now in the evening, which can only mean more knitting or crocheting time, a little bit more time to have the really good light that you might need to work on your project. So that's another great thing that is happening. We'll see if the government finally gets around to making it a permanent thing, and then we don't have to fool around with those silly clocks that you have to turn back. I finally got the clock on the car right. I have two clocks in my car. One is a regular, is it called analog clock with the hands? And then next to it is the digital clock. And I never even bothered to change the clock with the hands. So now that's finally right. But the digital clock I had to change, and it was much easier But since you don't do it very often, it's like hard to remember how. But I got that all fixed. So all the clocks are on the same time finally. But what that always means to me, or signals to me, is that longer daylight, that extra time, that warming up of the air means that it is definitely time to start thinking about the washing and caring of all of your garments. We always tell you that you don't have to wash your sweaters every single time you wear them, but you definitely have to put your sweaters away for summer clean. We cannot stress that enough. Kate and I just spent a little, hey Jess, nice to have you here. Kate and I just spent some time online looking at the life cycle of moths, just to verify everything that I have been saying all along. And the really bad news is that the larva stage in the moth's life cycle, which is the stage
of destruction.
Of destruction. That's a great term, Kate. It's the stage of destruction. It's those little worms that eat the fiber, can last, you won't believe this, up to 30 months. 30 months before that little, now fat caterpillar turns into the cocoon, which then turns them into a moth. 30 months. Now, that's not every single caterpillar, but that's the range that scientists have discovered. So think about that for a minute. Holy cow, how do you even combat that? Well, we've got some answers for you. So there are several stages, obviously, of moth development. The egg, the larva, is it pupa?
Yeah.
That is the cocoon stage, and then the moth stage. And obviously the cocoon and moth stage, they don't do anything. They don't eat. Their only purpose is, one, to turn into a moth, and two, as a moth, to lay more eggs. So when you see a moth, it's little, it's less than 1/4 of an inch. It's late. It's already late in the cycle, and that means that you've got larvae somewhere that are ready to start munching on all of the animal fibers that you have. They're a keratin eater, which is basically in our hair. So any animal with hair, which is the number one, sheep. I could need a little water.
Yeah, you are. Here you go.
Thank you.
And your sheep.
Sorry. We just wolfed down lunch, and I have a little something in my throat. Okay. So they eat keratin in the hair, number one. Number two, they are extremely attracted to any kind of dirt, including sweat. They actually drink.
Oh.
That's how they drink, and this is freaking Kate out. But all of those little extra pieces of dirt are even more attractive to the larva. And they like cashmere more than raw wool. They love, it's like dessert to them. They love the finer materials. So you really need to protect those items that you have spent a lot of money on to wear, and the ones that you've spent a lot of time and money on to create. And the number one thing is, at this time of year, to start thinking about the cleaning process. The scientists are going to recommend dry cleaning. It takes the larva, kills the larva, gets rid of all of the eggs, because it can create a cycle. So between the dry cleaning process and the shaking of it, that's going to help clean out the item. We also recommend hand washing, and that's what I do with my sweaters. And I am starting that process right now. It's still a little bit cold for me to really put them outside to dry. It'll take too long. So I have not started to wash them, but I am getting ready. And by getting ready, I'm going through my sweaters and setting aside the really heavy wool sweaters that I know I'm probably not going to wear again now that the weather is going to be warmer. So I've got those lined up. My favorite sweaters, because I really want to make sure those get cleaned, and they're in another pile. And then the lighter weight sweaters that I will probably wear right through into May until it really gets warm. So I will have sort of a progression of things that I want to wash. Now, I hand wash and I also machine wash. If you have anything knit with a superwash yarn, you can very easily machine wash it and machine dry it, usually, to help it retain its shape. You don't want to throw it into the dryer on the highest temperature and the longest time, obviously. You can break that down into smaller chunks. And what you can also do is let it dry in the dryer until it's almost dry, and then take it out and shape it and lay it flat and let it finish drying that way. In fact, that's what I recommend. I have let a superwash thing go through the dryer until it was really dry and left it in there, and then it comes out a wrinkled mess because wool will wrinkle. So almost dry and lay it flat and you'll have a great looking sweater. In the washing machine, I almost always put my things in a garment bag, and that way I can do 2 or 3 sweaters at a time. And in April, when it is warm enough, I will spread a sheet out in the backyard, spread the washed garments on it, and cover it with another sheet just to protect it from animals or birds or twigs or leaves or anything else anything else that's growing on there. And they're usually dry. Pick a nice sunny day. They're usually dry within that day. You don't want to leave them out in the sun because you never know how sensitive the dyes are going to be to sunlight, and you can end up with some fading that happens relatively quickly. In a short couple of hours, you can get some fading on there. You can use a garment bag or a pillowcase, and I put them outside because you really need a lot of space in order to spread them out. And unless you only have 1 or 2 sweaters, most of us have more than that. I won't tell you how many I have, except to tell you that I haven't worn them all. So pick a day when it is going to be above 50 degrees and pretty sunny out before you actually start it. We have 2 shampoos that we are recommending. We've carried the Eucalyptus for a really long time, and it does come in several different scents as well as an unscented. It's both in this size bottle and in a smaller little bottle like this. And the Eucalyptus is great because you put a capful or so in the water, let the sink fill up with the water, and it'll get a little bit sudsy, not terribly sudsy, but a little bit. Put your piece in there and really squeeze it. Get it in there and get it soaked up. Thanks, Jen. Let it really soak up the water and really squeeze it. I did a blocking demonstration on one of these when we first started and showed you that you really do need to squeeze the piece to get all the air bubbles out of it and to really let the wool or whatever fiber it is really begin to absorb the water. Now, Eucalyptus says that you don't need to rinse it, and a lot of people can't believe that, but it's true. The water and the soap part of the Eucalyptus will lift the dirt out and it gets dissolved in the water. You can rinse if you want to, but one of the things that makes Eucalyptus so great is that it has a lot of lanolin in it, and we want to make sure that our wool sweaters don't dry out, because when they dry out they get very brittle and rough feeling, and they need that lanolin to be restored. You know, the wool from the sheep gets washed a lot before it actually gets processed into yarn, so they're already taking much of the lanolin out. If you've ever felt raw wool right off a sheep, you can feel how sticky it is, and that is the lanolin part that helps to keep the fiber soft and pliable, and we want to put some of that back in. We're getting a new soap from Quince & Company that they're shipping that next week, and that comes in several scents as well, and this is a new one, so I haven't tried it yet, but when it comes in I will take a bottle home just in time to wash a couple of my sweaters, and I will give you my opinion of it back then. If you are sensitive to scents, I would say stick with the unscented varieties, because some of these scents can be a little bit strong, and you may not like them on your sweater. For the love of Pete, do not use mothballs ever, 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 ever. Do not use mothballs. Do not use woolite. It's way too strong of a detergent. I know they bill themselves as, you know, the gentle fiber wash, but it is still much too harsh of a detergent. I would rather see you use Ivory dishwashing liquid, something like that, that is not a high concentration of detergent. That I've used that in the past. I've used baby Ivory snowflakes. You can get it in the baby section. I've used dishwashing liquid from Ivory Snow and the Eucalyptus. Yeah, you don't want it. You don't want it to be to strip the color. That's the main thing we're worried about. The dyes that the factories use on them. So no woolite and no mothballs. Like I said before, the scientists recommend dry cleaning because that's going to take care of removing as many of the eggs and larvae as possible. And that's the main thing. We looked a lot at how to prevent moths. We've had customers this year bring in repairs saying that they have just moved to the area from somewhere else and that they never had a moth problem before, and all of a sudden they're experiencing holes in their woolen garments. And it is true. New England, for some reason, the Pioneer Valley is moth central. We have a big moth problem, and so it is a battle. The other night, I sat down in my chair to knit. I had my pajamas and my robe on, and my robe was a little bit open. And as I picked up my knitting, I saw this thing dart madly across my chest, and I was ready to let out the screech of a lifetime, but I controlled myself because anything moving fast like that, you immediately think snake. But I knew it wasn't a snake. But when I lifted my robe to look, it was a moth. And you rarely see a moth with its wings all folded up just sitting there, but it was just sitting on my pajamas, and you can believe I flattened that sucker right away. And I was like, oh no, here we go. Last winter, not this past winter, but the winter before, we had a big moth problem in our house. And every single night, sitting there watching TV, Russ and I would see at least 2 moths flying around. And I just kept saying, I don't know where they're coming from. Well, this past last summer, I finally cleaned out the closet that's downstairs where I have a lot of wool stored and where we stored all of our winter jackets and things. And that's the number one thing. Clean out, meaning remove everything, vacuum the closet, vacuum the drawers, wipe it down, get into those corners, wipe it down. There you can use a regular cleaning solution or detergent. You will feel that grittiness that comes from all of the egg casings. Clean, clean, clean. I did that, and this winter we didn't have a moth problem at all until this guy showed up. So they're still around. I have too much wool for them not to be around. So the scientists are saying even a couple of times a year, open the closet doors. They hate light. Clean everything out, vacuum, dust, do whatever you have to do in your closet. It's going to help.
And move your clothes around.
Move your clothes around. A simple shakeout. I mean, if you have, a container full of sweaters, or you have a lot of sweaters and you want to put them in a garbage bag, take them outside and shake them outside. You can shake them on a white sheet and you will see telltale signs right away. I have had that happen before.
Grit come out,
or just shake them, and then you'll know right away which sweaters might be contaminated. There's no guarantee. There's no real way to eliminate or kill the larva. People talk about freezing, and what we read was it has to be instantaneous. If you can go from 70 degrees, which is normal room temperature, to 0 in a matter of a minute, you might have a chance to kill them. But the eggs are still there. They need to be shaken out. I've also put stuff in my dryer on air fluff to just kind of shake everything. But shake it and clean it. That really and truly is the only way to do it. And then clean the vacuum out. They talk about, throwing away the vacuum cleaner bags, but
immediately.
A lot of vacuums don't even have vacuum cleaner bags anymore. So take that, whatever cup collects the dirt, out and empty it outside, and then wash it as well. We want to get rid of as much of that stuff as possible. We saw one site that said you could do the same thing by heating it, but no. Do not put your stuff in the oven. No. I told Kate that a long time ago. I was making pom-poms for a class, and I thought I had read that if you squirted them and put them in the microwave, it would really fluff them up. Holy cow. No. Do not oven or microwave anything that is an animal fiber. You'll be very sorry. Very, very sorry. So you can store, since we're coming into spring and summer, the warmth is actually also, and you're going to see an increase in activity. This is when they really, like every other animal and plant on the earth, this spring and summer is when they really become active, and you'll see them flying around. You want to really make sure you vacuum and clean your carpets, or wool carpets especially, to make sure that you're getting everything up out of there, and that well, wait a minute, not and. Once you've done that, when you store things for the spring and summer, you can store them in plastic bags that seal. You can use those vacuum sealing bags. That's great because it really condenses it and makes them easy to store, and you can still see in the fall when you're ready to open them up and take them out what's where. Do not put them in regular cloth bags. They can get through it. They can eat through a cloth bag. So it's plastic. And I know you've read or heard stuff that says don't store your woolen items in plastic. Baloney. I've always stored my stuff in either plastic bins or even plastic garbage bags. And now Mary has just asked about lavender. Again, nothing is going to kill them or prevent them, but lavender, there are herbal kind of potpourris that you can get. You can buy in bulk and stick them in there. It helps everything smell nice. They have sort of found that it might deter them, but they cannot prove that any smells actually hurt them or that they really avoid them. I also now will just use a bar of smelly soap. You've heard me say that before. Something like that smells strong. Ivory, lavender. No, what's that? Some Irish Spring.
Yes.
That it. And a cedar chest provides some protection, but the thing about cedar is it will protect them if it is a tight seal, so that they can't get back in, and the oils in the cedar that give it that fragrance dry up. You've seen your cedar chests not be as fragrant over years. So again, it helps, but it's not 100%. There really and truly is nothing that is 100%. The number one thing that everybody says to use, because you cannot stop the larva so easily, are the Bug MD. And we just got a shipment in of the Bug MD. These are fear gnome traps. So they attract the male moths when they are mature to stop the egg laying cycle. So we just got these in. You can find them online. We sell them individually. And as good as they are, and they are good, it's still, and I've been using them for years, you have to replace them, because what I keep trying to say is they get full.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people, but they're gross. When you put one up and in a week you come back and there's 40 moths in there, it's gross. It's really gross. But we've got these all over the store. We're constantly replacing them because even though these aren't garments, the moths are attracted to animal fiber and will come in and try to have lunch in here as well.
We don't want them having lunch with Linda.
So Bug MD. Now this is that's the brand name, Bug MD. I'm sure there are other fear-known trap companies out there. They also make one for your cupboards. If you have any kind of flower moth trouble, I guess it is, you can put something in your cupboard. But that is really the only proven way to stop it. And believe me, it will take a long time, a really long, I'm talking about over a year to really completely end the cycle. And then it's just going to start again. Another moth will come from somewhere and you'll end up with the same kind of problem. So try what you feel most comfortable with. The last resort, I mean, not the last resort, but if you take a garment out and it is severely damaged, it's not worth saving. It really and truly is not worth saving.
That's probably the culprit.
They're there, and when we've had people bring in repairs where they've put them on the table, and when we lift the sweater up, we can feel the table covered with all of the egg casings, and it just doesn't, in my mind, feel good to know that somebody's going to put that back on their body. So, a few holes, we can fix it and it's fine. Clean it and you'll be all set for a while, especially if it's a favorite piece. But if it's really badly damaged, it's time to think about reknitting, replacing. It's a good excuse to get something new. Yeah. All right.
And that means you found the culprit.
You found it. Yeah, because they tend to be pretty territorial, I guess is a good word for it. If they've found a sweater that they like, that doesn't mean that every single one of your sweaters is going to be infested. They will eat their way through as much as they possibly can and not necessarily travel to other garments as well. That's my lecture and my speech today. And just quickly, I want you all to know that finally Woobles is again making their how to crochet kits available to stores. So we got in, they only make 3 of their kits available to us: the dinosaur, the fox, and the penguin. And we have gotten all 3 of those kits in. So if you have somebody, especially with spring vacation coming up, it's a great activity for kids to do during spring vacation. They have also published this really great book that has all of the instructions for all of their animals in the book, so we can help you find yarn that will work for that. And then we got in, these are new colors?
Yep.
These are the new colors of Rasta. We got in a little order of Rasta from Malbrigo, which is really super bulky. And again, this is Malbrigo, so it is kettle dyed. So you can really see the color difference in this one. And this is a great, super bulky weight. You'll be on a size 15 needle. You'll find lots of wonderful hat patterns on Ravelry for this kind of thing. So that is our story for today, I think. That was everything on my list. I hope none of you were bored. But like I said, it's going to be a gorgeous week out there. I wanted to tell you that I will not be in the shop on Thursday. It's tax day, so it's tax day in my house, so I will be pulling my hair out trying to get ready for that. And good. I'm glad you got some information. Good. Thanks, Barb. I hope that it helps as you prepare for winter. And, a lot of us have wool, too. I just want to say quickly, a lot of us have wool, and it can happen to your wool. So definitely put your wool in plastic bins and seal and, cover, shut the tops really tightly. You could even tape them if you're not going to get into them right away, because that's just safe. It just means they can't get through tape, and the plastic will keep them out. And if you don't want to have to open up a bag of wool and find moths flying out. I don't think that's ever happened to me. Thank God.
It's never happened to me either. Oh.
Thank God. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the week. I hope we see you. We'll be open Wednesday through Saturday. I won't be here on Thursday. And I hope you find some time to sit in the sun and go knit something. Bye, everybody.